Welcome, everybody, to the CSFL pregame show. I'm your host, JD, the commissioner. It is week 4 coming up, and it's really exciting. There's lots to talk about. I've had a long day, but I got CSFL on the mind, so I might as well just let it out. Let's get right into the first game. You can see the matchups over here for week 4. Lots of really good ones, and let's jump right into it. Boom. The Wildcats and the Gators, or should I say the Gators host the Wildcats in season 2. This is a season 2 championship rematch that went to overtime and was selected as first in the top 10 games of all time in our 500th celebrational video. Now here in season 7, Gators are 4-2 versus the Wildcats in the regular season. Gators' only loss was this season was in overtime versus a team that is still undefeated. Gators are strong, fast, young, and are poised to have a historical season 7. Gators have the third best ranked offense and the first in the league for rushing yards, first for points per game, and uh, a first for points per game, expect, should I say, a classic performance from the 3-year pro franchise quarterback Thomas Brown, who has a 146.3 quarterback rating here in 3 games. Wildcats are 2-4 versus the Gators in the regular season, but have won 2 out of their last 3 games. Wildcats are second in the league, for points per game, and ranked second total offense and second ranked for passing offense, and our first in turnover differential with +4. Wildcats led by 1-year pro quarterback Pat Hall, who has 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions so far in these last 3 games. Look to take it on the road versus a strong, high-scoring Gators team. The Gators and the Wildcats are first and second for points per game. The Wildcats have scored 124 points, and the Gators have scored 127. So expect a lot of points here, with both these teams averaging over 41 points a game. That just spells for a real good shootout. Okay, let's move on to the next game, which is the Gorillas versus the Scorpions. I keep bringing this up. There you go. The Gorillas host the Scorpions. Gorillas are at home this week after their 3rd straight loss. Second-year pro quarterback Ismail Pitts has thrown 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and over 700 yards in 3 games, and seems to be the highlight of this team. And halfback turned wide receiver Bob Walker leads the team in receptions with 14 and receiving yards with 239, averaging 17 yards a catch and 3 touchdowns. Gorillas are now facing the Scorpions, who are a talented vertical passing team and will need all of the home field advantage as they can get, as both of these teams are desperate for wins. Will the Gorillas get their first ever win against the Scorpions at home? That would be something for these Gorillas, wouldn't it? Scorpions have the 3rd ranked passing offense here in week 4 and are 3rd for points per game with 37 points a game. They've been scoring a lot these last few weeks. Led by veteran quarterback Jeannie Ingram, who threw 6 touchdowns last week against a really talented Piranhas defense and secondary. Look to score even more here in week 4 against a quote-unquote new team. Scorpions 12-year pro, 2-time championship winning quarterback leads the league with passing touchdowns with 13 and only 2 interceptions, 964 yards in 3 games. Can the Gorillas' young defense be able to hold up and stop a veteran-led offense with this much firepower? They're third in the league for points per game, and they're third in the league for passing yards. And the Gorillas, if they're going to get a chance to win here, are going to really have to play ball control and slow this veteran-led Jeannie Ingram Scorpions offense. And now let's go to the next game, which is the Cobras versus the Demons. The Cobras versus the Demons. The Cobras are 2-2 versus the Demons, but still have the third-ranked defense and are ranked second in pass defense. 2-year pro quarterback Benjamin Harris has struggled at quarterback position, throwing 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and having a 77.9 quarterback rating in 3 games makes it hard to win for this defensive-heavy team. Cobras look to spice things up here versus a burning hot Demons team here. Cobras are ranked last, 14th in the league for points per game with only 17.3. Have to slow down a 3-0 team that's ranked 5th for points per game with 36.6. This is going to be a tough one here for the Cobras. If they can get a win here, this would be quite the statement game for them. Look how low the points per game are for the Cobras. Something needs to happen for that offense, and they need to do it right away. Demons are 2-2 all-time in the regular season versus the Cobras. Demons have the 4th-ranked total offense and our 4th-ranked rushing offense and the 5th-ranked total defense and have the 1st-ranked pass defense. The Demons are extremely balanced. Derek Crowder's having an absolute phenomenal performance here in Season 7. The running back for the Demons and the quarterback Eric Bell for the Demons has been really playing phenomenal. These guys are 3-0 for a reason. Had a couple really close ones. This will be a really big statement if they can go 4-0. Will they stay undefeated, or will the Cobras get their first win? This is a real tough defense to go against. Excited to see this matchup here against these two strong teams. Okay, and then the next game is the Dragons versus the Blue Jays. The Dragons versus the Blue Jays. Dragons are 3-3 in the regular season. And the Dragons lost to the Rhinos last week in week 3. They only scored 20 points last week, the Dragons, only rushing for 63 yards and had a chance to win it. They had no turnovers and no giveaways, or no giveaways and no takeaways. But they had a chance to win, at the end of the game. Quarterback Marcus McNeil had a rough time getting back to the line of scrimmage after getting sacked there by Irv Orlando on a game-winning tackle. The Dragons allowed over 433 total yards against the Rhinos and look to bounce back here against their rival Blue Jays at home. They got a win this year. They're 1-2, but they have the 12th ranked total defense which is third worst in the league. But let's see if they can turn things around, these Dragons at home, and get that offense going, because they are a really strong team, and they just haven't had a chance to really gel and get going. Let's see if they can do that here against their rivals. The Blue Jays also lost last week, so both these teams are on a one-game losing streak. The Blue Jays lost to the Werewolves in a close defensive game. The Blue Jays only scored 24 points last week, but threw for 242 yards and had 12 first downs. They had one takeaway and one giveaway. The Werewolves were able to get the best of the Blue Jays last week, and now the Dragons look to do the same. The Dragons and the Blue Jays know each other very well. They play twice a year. They played this regular season twice as well. Now, actually, because we have two pre-games, this is the third time they'll see each other this season. But these Blue Jays have the second-ranked total defense and the fourth-ranked passing offense and the third-ranked passing defense. Look for this young defense who has quite a few turnovers to get some here against a young quarterback in the Dragons. But will the Dragons hold strong at home against their rivalries? This should be a good matchup here Saturday at 1 p.m. Okay, and then the next game is the Bears versus the Wolverines. The Bears versus the Wolverines. Here in Week 4, both of these teams are 0-3. The Bears lost to the Demons in Week 3, and the Wolverines lost to the Gators in Week 3. And both of them really were competitive the whole way through. The Bears had a great game going against the Demons, but only scored 24 points. They had 170 yards rushing on the ground, the Bears, and had one giveaway, but only threw for 156 yards and 8 first downs, allowing over 498 total yards to the Demons, including 298 passing yards and 28 points. The Wolverines, they played their best game last week, in my opinion, versus the Gators. Came right down to a 4th and 10 where they threw it to Rico Bennett, and he had a wheel route on 4th and 10 and was able to take full advantage of that and come back with only a minute and 18 seconds left in the game. They were up, and that's how close the Wolverines were to getting their first win. Now they find themselves back on the road with the 7th ranked passing offense and the 6th ranked passing defense. Look to have a good secondary, this team, and see if they can take this on the road and beat these Bears who have had so many close losses. The Bears are third for rushing offense, like I said, 170. Just last week, over 500 on the season in 3 games. And they are also second for rushing defense. So look to see the Bears running it and look for the Wolverines to be airing it out and avoiding the Bears' rush defense. Okay, and now the next game is the Werewolves. Where are ye, Werewolves? This is probably my favorite matchup of the week. I'm just going to go out there and say it. The Werewolves had a phenomenal game last week, beating the Blue Jays, who were 2-0 coming in, and they got over 500 total yards and had a takeaway. They had 149 rushing yards with 330 total offensive yards and 31 points. the Werewolves versus the Vipers are 2-3 in the regular season, but the Vipers have a sour taste in their mouth every time they play these guys. I know it because they beat them in the playoffs 17-14 and knocked them off the last time and the only time that the Vipers and Werewolves have met in the playoffs. So now this is back. This time, though, we're going to be in Werewolf Stadium. And because when they beat them in the playoffs, the Vipers were at home. The Werewolves have the number one ranked offense, or the number one ranked defense, and the third ranked rush defense. And the Vipers have the second ranked rush offense. So I'm really excited to see these two teams who clearly are doing extremely well this year, and they happen to meet here in week 4. The Vipers won week 3 versus the Cobras, and are 3-2 versus the Werewolves, but did lose the playoffs when they did face them. Like I said earlier, but the Vipers scored only 27 points. They did win, but they did have 16 first downs, over 150 rushing yards, and they also had a giveaway, and they only threw for 138 yards, and they only scored 27 points. The Vipers are not in trouble, but this will be their biggest match so far of the year, and it's going to be on the road. They're averaging more than 10 points per game at 36 points per game, where the Werewolves are only averaging 26 points. So that's a full 10 points per game, which, see if that'll come in play here. The defense for the Vipers is also no joke, ranked 6th in the league. But it's really going to come down. They're both actually offense and defense for the Vipers are both 6th. But it's really going to come down to that really strong rushing game led by Gary Mason, the young running back that stepped in for the veteran Phil Clemens. Here in Season 7, the running back for the Vipers going against one of the strongest rushing defenses and the strongest total defenses in the Werewolves. So I'm super excited to see this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. The Piranhas versus the Rhinos. The Piranhas versus the Rhinos. The Rhinos lost to the Scorpions, which was an incredible game by the Scorpions, by the way. The quarterback threw 6 touchdowns against the Piranhas in a classic shootout that went down to the wire, but the Piranhas are 3-2-1 versus the Rhinos. Yes, they had a tie back in Season 2, I believe it was. They tied the Rhinos, but lost the last 2 meetings versus the Rhinos. So should I say the Piranhas lost the last 2 times they played the Rhinos, but are still 3-2-1. The Piranhas have the number 1 ranked offense. They are the defending champs of Season 6, and they have not missed a beat. Very surprising loss against the Scorpions team, who we thought was going to struggle, but had a phenomenal game against this really strong defense. Not sure if that was a fluke or if that's a story to tell. This will be a big statement here for the Rhinos. If they can take it to this 9th ranked total defense. They are first for rushing defense, but they have the first passing offense and the first passing total offense, should I say the first total offense and third for points per game, averaging 37, where the Rhinos are only averaging 26. The Rhinos won a close game versus the Dragons last week, but they are 2-3-1 versus the Piranhas. Like I said, in the regular season, the Rhinos have won the last 2 games that they played against the Piranhas, coming here in with the 4th total defense. fifth total rushing defense, and are second, tied for second in turnover differential with +3. Rushing offense, sixth as well, 381 rushing yards so far in 3 games. But that 12th ranked offense is definitely deceiving because they are 3-0. But will that come into play here? A really strong defense for the Rhinos going against a really strong offense in the Piranhas. So when the Piranhas are out on offense and the Rhinos are out on defense, all eyes will be on those two mega powers going against each other. Will the Piranhas go 3-1 or will the Rhinos go 4-0 and keep this winning streak alive? Man, so many great games this week. Super excited about it. I think the Werewolves versus the Vipers is going to be a classic. Obviously, I think the Gators and the Wildcats rematch of Season 2 championship game is going to be phenomenal. The Gorillas have a good chance to win this week against the Scorpions. The Scorpions just beat the Piranhas, so don't overlook these Scorpions. That was a huge statement game by them. The Cobras gotta figure something out on offense, and they're really lacking on. Or really got to figure out something on offense, but they are just phenomenal still on defense, just like always. Classic Cobras. And the Demons are a whole new. The Dirty Demons are all new. They're brand new. They look completely different, and no one's really ready for what these Demons have. And honestly, I think they're doing really well this season, and clearly those draft picks that they've been getting is really coming through for them. But their quarterback and running back are really impressive, and yeah. Was going to say the Dragons and the Blue Jays, both of these teams have really been sitting average for the last few seasons. The Blue Jays really thought, a lot of people thought the Blue Jays are really going to have a breakout season this year. They're 2-1, so they can easily go 3-1 here, and then we're still saying the Blue Jays are doing great. But they lost last week to the Werewolves, who are a really good team as well. The Dragons looked really strong at first and looked like they were going to go 2-1, but ran into the Rhinos and only scored 20 points. The Bears and the Wolverines, man, this game, man, both of these teams are so desperate for a win, man. Both these teams, I know what I'm excited about this game, the Bears and Wolverines, the Bears and Wolverines, is no matter who wins, both of these teams are going to be super excited. One of these teams are winning, and I know they're going to be excited. So I'm excited to see who wins that game big time. And then the Werewolves versus the Vipers is just going to be a slugfest. I don't expect to see a lot of points in this game. Probably a few turnovers, if anything. But I'm really excited to see that strong defense in the Werewolves versus that really strong offense led by Corey Moore. And now Gary Mason at running back. Piranhas and the Rhinos. Honestly, if the Piranhas didn't lose last week to the Scorpions, I'd be kind of going, oh man, this is a big challenge for the Rhinos. But the Piranhas showed some weakness last week and in the air game. And honestly, the Rhinos are really good at the air game and have two of the best, if not the best, wide receiving combo with Alan Dwight and Randy Dorsey. 3-0 Rhinos looking strong on defense as well, and the Piranhas, man, have a good chance to go 2-2 here if they don't have a statement game of their own. But they are at home. They are at home and have a winning record versus the Rhinos. Anyways, this video is going too long. I could talk about this stuff for hours. Hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy week 4, and I'll see you after that.